Hi and welcome to another video by Jim the Car Guy. Today we have a 1996 Honda Accord. The complaint is the customer was driving the car and as they went around a turn the car just shuddered, stalled, and it would not restart. We did have to have the car towed into the shop here and I'm going to show you what it's doing before we go any further. And what we're going to do now is we're going to try to diagnose, we're going to diagnose what the problem is and we're going to get this car running. So let's get up there. I'll show you what it's doing and how we're going to go about checking to see what's wrong with it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to listen to it first and see what it sounds like. I have a pretty good idea of what it is already just by listening to it. We are going to check for spark and we are going to check for fuel to make sure we have those two, because as you know, you need spark, you need fuel, you need compression for an engine to run. And on the newer cars, you'll also need injection pulse. So, we're going to check all of those items to see what's going on and get this car running. So let's get up there and show you what it's doing or not doing. Okay, this is what the car is actually doing. And that sounds like a pretty dead crank, so let's get up front and then we'll figure out what's going on. Okay, now first thing you want to do, the first and the easiest thing to do is to check to make sure you have spark from your coil down to your spark plugs. So first thing we're going to do is before we check this spark to the plugs, we're going to check the spark from the coil to make sure we have spark from the coil. So you just take your coil wire out. Let's get over on this side here. You take your coil wire out and you hold the coil wire about, I'm going to say, maybe a ½ inch away from from anything that's a ground, and then you would have your assistant crank the engine just to see if there is spark. So being that I'm here by myself, I'm going to have you watch that for me, and I'm going to go in the car and crank it. Okay, so we're going to crank the engine now, and we're going to see if we have spark from this wire jumping to the ground on the valve cover. As you can see, there is a very good spark coming from that coil wire. All right, so the next thing you want to do now is we want to go up into the, put that coil wire back in where it belongs. We're just going to bring it back over here, put it back in like this. Next thing we're going to do is now we want to make sure that our distributor is working properly. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out one of these spark plug wires on the side here, and we're going to check for spark to the cylinders to make sure we have spark to each one of the spark plugs. So we're going to take this, hope you can see okay here. We're going to take this wire out just like this, and then we're going to check to make sure that the spark from this wire to a ground. So let's get set up and I'll show you. Okay, now even if you're by yourself and there's nobody else there with you, you see how I put this here and I stuck the screwdriver inside here, and this is a ground right here. So we should now crank this engine and we should see spark jumping from this screwdriver to that ground right there. So let's see what happens. Okay, so now as you can see, let's take you off here. Okay, so now as you can see, with that screwdriver now, we should have power coming through your coil wire into your distributor. When your rotor is rotating, we should have spark traveling down each one of these wires into the plug itself, and having a spark from there. And as you can see, there is no spark. Now there's a couple of things that could be going on with this. Like I said, I have a pretty good idea already what's going on. But now, as you can see, your distributor connects into the back of your camshaft. The camshaft is actually controlled in the front over here. The camshaft is actually controlled by the timing belt, which is on here, which rotates the camshaft and then will distribute the spark to each one of the cylinders. So now we know that there's no spark coming out of here, so we know that something is going on inside here, whether it's a bad cap or a bad rotor, or there's something going on with the timing belt. Now the easiest thing to do is you'd have to pull the whole cover apart in here to be able to find out what's going on. But if you take this cap off right here, you'll take the cap off. Let's grab a light. And you can take a look down inside here. You can see the camshaft down there. I don't know if you can see it clearly. I'm going to try to zoom you in so you have a better view. You see down inside there, you see the rocker arm. Let's get you. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a rocker arm right inside there. And what we're going to do is we're going to watch to see if that rocker arm is actually rotating when we turn the key in the engine. So let's get set up over here, and we'll see what happens. I don't know if you'll be able to see in there, but let's take a look and see. All right, I don't think you're going to be able to see what I'm doing in here. Let's get this set. I do like my OTC light. It does stick to just about everything. It lights up the area nice. All right, let's set the camera up, and we're going to check the rotation in there. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but we'll give it a shot, and we're going to watch for these valves moving down inside there. Okay, I don't know if you'll be able to see that. Okay, I don't know how much of that valve action you could actually watch inside that hole there, but I could see it good enough that I know that that valve, the camshaft is not moving, therefore the valve's not opening, and if the valves, and that if the timing belt broke in the front of the engine, what's happening is the engine is not rotating, or I should say the lower half of the engine is rotating. The crankshaft is rotating, the camshaft is not rotating. And if the camshaft is not rotating, let's turn this off before we kill our battery here. If the camshaft is not rotating, then what's happening is the distributor cannot rotate, and therefore it can't send spark to each one of the cylinders as needed, not to mention you don't have any compression in the engine. So just to confirm the problem, first I am going to call the customer and discuss it with them and give them an idea of what happened, because this, as you know, this is an interference engine. And if this broke when the customer was driving, there's a possibility of valve damage. So I do want to talk to the customer and make them aware of it and see what they want to do. But to confirm what the issue is, I'll show you. We're going to take this valve cover off. We're going to take the valve cover off of the car itself. We're going to take the valve cover off, and we're going to actually check to see if there's any other issues in there. Either way, if I'm going to be doing the timing belt anyway, the valve cover has to come off to get the timing cover off, because as you can see, the timing cover is underneath the valve cover. So, all right, let's make a couple of phone calls, talk to some customer. We're going to see what they want to do, and well, we'll come back. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to remove the wires first, and we're going to pull this valve cover off to see what's going on with the valve train. Now, if you can't remember where the wires go, it's a good idea just to mark them so you know. where they're coming from so you can put them back without a problem later on. Just take these out like this, and then we're going to remove the holders on top here. They look like two 8mm. Now this one you can see already, this valve cover was no good because it was actually oil leaking down inside the cylinder. Pull that out of the way. And as you can see here, I'm going to bring you in closer so you can see what's going on. Let's get a light in here so you can see. You see there's your timing belt. See right here is your timing belt. As you can see, the belt did snap off. So we're not going to take that out of there now. It's going to be a little bit tight, but as we can see for sure, we know the timing belt broke. So what's happening is the valves are not rotating. The timing belt rotates the camshafts, and it's not rotating the camshafts, and therefore it's not rotating your distributor either. So all right, let's get set up. We have to take the timing case cover off, and like I said, we could have some bent valves in here, but we're not too sure until we actually put the new timing belt on. So the easiest thing to do is to just put the belt on, and then we'll crank it up, and we'll hopefully you're going to be able to run. So all right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to disconnect the fan belts. We're going to take them off. Then we're going to go down and we're going to go inside this wheel well over here, take the wheel off, pull the side cover off, and we'll continue inside. All right, so all right, let's continue. Kind of knew it was going to be a bad timing belt just by yesterday's sequence of events. All right, I hope you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the belt here. Now, I did talk to the customer the other day, and they are aware that there's a very good possibility the valves are bent in the engine, just so you know. All right, so let's remove this. This is 12mm, just so you know. This is a pretty good indication that the belts have probably never been changed on here either, because you can see how they're cracking. So they've probably been on there for a long time as well. Okay, all right, so now we're going to loosen up the alternator belt, and I've decided I am going to leave the power steering in place. I'm not going to take it out of the way, because after looking in there I see it has no effect on the cover itself. So now we're going to loosen the bolts on the alternator. And then we're going to slide the alternator down so we can remove that other fan belt. There's one bolt on the top here, and there's another one down on the front over here. the one bolt down there. That little 10 millimeter bolt right there is the one that actually is for the adjustment. We loosened up the bolt on the other side of that over here, right in here. That 14 millimeter right there. And then all the way down underneath the alternator, we removed that 12 millimeter down there. All right, we're going to take the fan belt off the car right now, like this. We'll pull it out of there, and then we're going to take this cover off. Now to get this cover off, there's only a couple of screws in there. There's a couple of 10 millimeters inside here. You see the 10 millimeters in the cover. We're going to take that 10 millimeter out there, this one here, and we're going to remove that dipstick tube right here because that will be in the way. All right, so let's continue with it. Okay, next thing we're going to do now is we're going to take that dipstick tube out, because the dipstick tube, I don't know if you can see this, but that tube, let's get you in here. This tube right here is actually blocking where I need to get in to get that other bolt out. So we're going to take that dipstick tube out. Quite simple, just take out the other 10 millimeter bolt. And then this cover should come off. Like this. And as you can see, you think that belt was no good, huh? Look at how old that belt is. Do you believe it? This car's got 160,000 miles on it. This belt has got to be the original belt. Well, hopefully he didn't bend his valves, but time will tell. As you can see, it just snapped. Okay? That's when you tell people that proper maintenance is very important, and they look at you like you're trying to take advantage of them. In this case, hopefully his engine is going to be okay, and he didn't wipe it out. So, all right, let's take out the remaining bolts up on the top over here, and then we're going to continue down on the bottom, and we'll pull out the wheel well, and we'll continue right there. All right, so let's get the wheel off, and we'll see what's going on inside there. Okay, now we're going to take this cover off right here. Gives us a little bit more room inside here, and then we can take our belt out. Okay, and as you can see, this belt is almost as bad as the other belt, but not quite. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to try to air gun this bolt out right here. They do make a special tool to hold the crankshaft, and just in case it rotates, but we're going to give it a try and we'll see how that works first. All right, sometimes they come out, sometimes they don't. We'll see. As you can see, that one's not coming out. All right, let me grab that tool and we'll come right back. The way the tool works is it's just like this. It fits on that on the crankshaft pulley, and then you take a pry bar and you rotate and you wedge it up against something so it doesn't move. So we're going to take this. We're going to take it and bring it up over here like this. We're just going to wedge it in here. Unless you have an assistant with you, of course. We'll wedge it up like that, and then we'll crack that nut loose. We'll try with the air gun one more time. as you can see, that thing is really tight, right? So now that we have it wedged in there, we have our pry bar wedged up against the frame. We can get in there with our other pry bar. We're just going to bungee this back out of our way for now. As you can see, that bolt is very tight. All right, and after you break it loose, we can take it out. We're going to remove our tools. Without that tool, I don't think you're going to get this off. I've seen guys already in other shops that didn't have this, and they heated this up with a torch to try to get it out. Needless to say, you know what happened there. Snapped it off in the crankshaft and they were really screwed. All right, so all right, make sure you can get this tool before you start the job. All right, we'll take this bolt out. Now normally if the timing belt was not broken, you would set your timing marks, but in this case it don't matter, the belt is broken. And this comes right off. Well, you have to rock it back and forth, but it does come off. Just watch you don't lose that key inside there. There's a little key that holds this in position, so be careful when you take it out. Put your hand under it because it does fall out. Well, not in this case, but that's it. All right, so we're just going to leave it right there like that. That's our crankshaft pulley. We'll put this off to the side now. All right, we're going to take out the rest of these 10mm bolts in the cover here so we can get the cover off, and we'll come back once we get all these bolts out. There's one here, one here. I took the ones off up on top already, and there should be one more up in the front here. We're going to take them out. There is a little push pin here that we have to remove. Try not to break it because you want to reuse it again. It holds the wire out of the way so it doesn't get rubbed into the fan belt and damaged. All right, we're going to try to get that one bolt out of there now, and we'll pull that cover. Okay, now that we got our cover out, this looks a little worse than we thought it was going to be. What happened is, you see right here, when the timing belt snapped off, all of these pieces here it snapped this off as well. So all right, let me look up the timing marks and everything, and we'll make some phone calls to the parts store, and we'll continue. Okay, we are going to take this off just so we can see what's going on with that timing components. Now, there's some more pieces. Let me put this down. You can see. All right, so we need to get a new sensor for this. So let's make a phone call, find out price and availability, and then we'll discuss it with the customer and see what he wants to do. And I just realized looking in here, this is supposed to be a balance shaft belt on here. The balance shaft belt is actually gone as well. So, all right, let's make some phone calls and we'll talk to the customer. Okay, we talked to the customer and we informed them what was going on with it, and they want to continue with it. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the old crank sensor. All right. Okay, we're going to take these and just put this out of the way for now. We will put that back on. Let's clean all that crap out of there. This is all the debris from the teeth. Very important to get all that stuff out of there. We don't want that getting into the new belt. Okay. All right, next thing we're going to do now is, before we go any further, we're going to set up the crankshaft. We're going to rotate this around. We'll get all the timing marks lined up, and I'll get it set, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to put the balance shaft belt on. Okay, I am going to remove the motor mount. Just so you know, I took those 2 bolts out right there. I unscrewed this one right here so we can actually get the motor mount out so we can get the timing belt back on. We disconnected this little 10mm cable from here, and now we can take our mount out like this. And now we have to do it's going to be hard for me to film this, so I'm going to actually do it, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like. You're going to get this set so that it's facing in the up position. It says right there, up. And then you see right here, see that little groove right there? There's one there, and there's one there. It's got to be even with the deck of the head right here. And if you go around the back, I'll show you. If you go around the back here, you can see on the gear itself, you see how it's lined up with the deck of the head? That's how that has to go. So that little notch right there, right here, has to line up with the deck of the head here. And there's also another one down in the back, right over there in the back too. All right, so that's what makes it difficult to try to film it. So now we have this set to the number 1 position. It's even here and here. Now we're going to go down on the bottom, and we're going to rotate the well, I already did it. We rotated the crankshaft here. We rotated the crankshaft, pointing to that little notch right there, and then we're going to put the timing belt on. Now we will have to take off this the tensioner for the, well, I should say this arm right here for the balance shaft belt. So we're going to take that off too, so we can put the other belt on. So lined up here, lined up on top, we're going to put the belt back on, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how to line up your balance shaft and get that belt back on. Okay, now that we have everything back on, the belts themselves are on tight. We lined this up here. The balance shaft, we lined it up right here. And there's a little notch up on top. We lined it up there. Let's go up top. I'll see if I can show you from up top. Okay. All right. That's the... okay, that's the little notch up on top right there, lined up with a little arrow. Let's see if I can point it out to you. It's lined up right here. That little notch right there is lined up with that notch there. This little notch here is lined up right over here. The timing belt is lined up here and here, and is up facing up. Of course, it has to say up on the top there. And that's it. We're all set. All right, so now we're going to put the cover back on, and we'll start wrapping it up. Okay, so now that we got everything back together, I am going to have to put this on down on the ground, because as you can see, I have it jacked up on a piece of wood right here. So I'm going to put this cover in here, and I'm going to reconnect the bolt here, here, and one more right there. And then once we get that put back on there, we'll put the cover back on the top, and we'll start wrapping it up. Now I'm going to need 2 hands to get this in there. You remember it was a pain in the rear end coming out, but we're going to get this back in there, and then we'll come right back.